First we will see why we need that to use that software, and then we'll see how the software works. Okay, so with me I have Steffi. She will be also helping me in presenting this session. Now, before we start, what is Optimax? The as a name, Steffi, you can share later. I'll just brief them and then we'll share. Okay. So Optimax
Okay.
is a software uh, which is used for optimization. So the name Optimax itself is sounding similar to optimization. And why do we, what is being optimized and why do we need to optimize something? So here we are optimizing the reinforcement. And why should we optimize reinforcement? So if we look into the construction scenario, like when you go for construction activity or when you do the budgeting for a project, the majority of cost will be the structure, like will be contributed by the structure, then the architecture part, then the other minor parts. So coming to the structure, RCC and steel. So this is the main contributor for the budgeting time. And in RCC, when we look into close, you see that the PCC part, that is excluding steel, what is the amount of amount you're going to spend for 1 m cube of concrete? That is the same amount. Like if you take 1 m cube of RCC, the amount of materials amount for investing for materials to prepare 1 m cube of RCC is equivalent to the cost of steel required for 1 m cube of RCC. So for an example, if you take your assume that you are going to concrete 1 m cube of a slab, the amount of cement, sand, aggregate, labor, machinery, everything combined is almost equivalent to 6,000, 8,000 rupees, in that range. The steel for which is used for reinforcing that 1 m cube of slab will be equivalent to this 6,000, 8,000 rupees. So you will have to buy steel as much as that of concrete usually. Now this varies with the design slightly, but majority the rate is split among steel and the remaining materials. Okay, so looking into this, wastage of material, like wasting one bag of cement will cost you 420 rupees, but wasting 1 kg of steel, it will be like 80 rupees per kg. That is excluding the rebar work cost. This steel itself has 80 rupees, and when we compare to concrete, like 1 m cube of concrete requires nearly 8 bags of steel, but that 8 bags of concrete, sorry, 8 bags of concrete is the approximate quantity used for 1 m cube of concrete. And when we look into the rate side, wastage of concrete will be 1 or 2, maximum half bag of cement. It will be equal to maximum or less than half bag of cement is the only wastage that is likely to happen. But comparing to steel, the wastage can increase more than the amount required for the RCC work. Like if you're not cutting the steel properly, as you all know, it is when you purchase a steel bar, it is 12-meter long, and you have to cut it according to your length requirement, which is specified by the BPS data. So if you are not cutting it right, what happens is that at the end of the day, your wastage will be more than the actual requirement. So that is the main problem. So I'll illustrate what wastage actually means when you come to BPS side. I'll just share my screen and you will have to confirm that my screen is visible. Steffi, let me know when my screen is visible to you.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, here I have 3 bars. Assume that I have three set, like these are representative of bars which I have to cut. I may have to cut some 100 bars of 3-meter length, which is shown by this yellow line. I'll have another 100 bars of 5-meter length. This is shown in red color, and I will have to cut another 100 bars of 9 meter length. So I have total 300 bars to be cut, and I have a combination of 3, 5, and 9 to be cut. So if I'm cutting all 3 meter bars first, then at the end I might have a wastage. Then if I cut all 5 meter bars from, like if I'm going to cut 5 meter bars from a 12 meter bar, like one full length is almost 12 meter, is actually 12 meter. So, so one full length bar is this much. And if I want to cut a 9 meter bar, I can cut only one 9 meter bar from a full length. And in the case of a 5 meter bar, I can cut up to 2 bars from a full length. And in the case of 3 meter bar, I can go for 4 cuttings from one bar. Is that clear? So if I want to cut this particular bar, I can go up to 4 bars, 4 pieces from a full length bar. And from for 5 meter bar, I can go for up to 2 pieces from one particular bar. If I'm cutting 2 5 meter bars from this total length, then I'll have a wastage of 2 meters left out. So we'll have a wastage of almost 2 meters left out. And I cannot reuse in this particular BBS because I have the minimum requirement is a 3 meter bar. So all these 2 meter bar from each. So I have 100 bars to be cut of 5 meter length. I can cut 2 from one particular full length. Then I can cut almost 100 by 2. That is 50 bars can be cut, 50 full length bar is required. And from all these 50 full length bar, I'll have 2 meter wastage. And these 2 meter wastage will correspond to a huge amount that will go from my hand. So I'll have to find a combination wherein my wastage can be minimized. How can we find a combination? Finding a combination manually takes time. Yeah, I have only 3 lengths, so it will be easy for me to find a combination. So if I combine this 3 meter and 9 meter, I'll be able to make a 12 meter bar out of it with zero wastage. I can use this combination for 100 full length and I'll get a sufficient number of bars from it. So all 100 full length with zero wastage I can get, and the only wastage will be from the 5 meter bar. If I'm not planning this particular cutting length and I'm cutting 5 plus 3 from one set, then I can only cut one 5 meter bar and 2 3 meter bars, and still I will have a wastage. So if I'm going for this particular combination, then my total length will be nearly 11 meter. I'll have 1 meter wastage also. So instead of the 3 and 9 meter combination, if I have chosen 2 3 meter bar and one 5 meter bar, the wastage will be 1 meter. So I'll have to go through all these combinations to find the ideal combination when I have more than 3 samples to be cut. So in a sample BBS, you have different length and you'll have to find different I'll give a sample BBS for you. So you will have different size of bars and different cutting length. This one is not. So I have 6, 8, 12, 10, and all different bar sizes and all of different length. Look, I have a 6 meter, 4 meter, and this is not a round figure. It is 4.6, 6.12. If you sit into finding a combination manually, you will have to spend hours in finding a proper combination so that you will get minimum wastage. In order to cut that time for finding the best combination to get minimum wastage and therefore reduce the amount of wastage in your whole budget, in order to cut down your budget, you will have to find the proper combinations. And Optimax is a software which helps you to find a combination within minutes or even seconds. So that is the importance and the application of Optimax. It is a software which helps you to find the best combination of rebar so that you can reduce the wastage generated in your site. Am I clear to you? Why do we use Optimax? It is a software wherein it takes a BBS data and tries all combinations to produce a combination where you have minimal wastage. And if you try to do this manually, you will might take hours to days and even weeks to get a proper combination. And usually construction projects don't have so much time to invest in, so that they what they do is they'll just go for a logical one, or either ignore it. Ignoring means what happens is that we'll have to purchase 5 ton steel, and due to improper cutting, we might generate 1 ton of steel as wastage, which is equivalent to nearly 1 lakh of rupees loss, just because you are cutting the steel wrong. It will become an additional expense in your budget which has no utilization rather than generating waste. And recycling cost, like if you plan on selling the waste material, you won't be getting like 1 kg of steel. When you purchase, it will be 90 rupees. When you try to sell as scrap, you won't get 90 rupees, you might get 50 or less than 70, 50 to 70 in between ranges, depending on the person you are approaching, or even the person who you are intending to sell, and the quantity of steel you are trying to sell. That doesn't mean that you're getting back what you're spending. You're spending 90 rupees, and you are not able to get even half of it back because of the wastage. So it's better you plan the usage of steel, so that you can cut down the budget and even keep your budget from overboarding. Okay. So we have a software for that, and that is called Optimax. Today we'll have a demonstration on the same, and if we have additional time, we'll be discussing some portions from ERP also. Okay, now I would like Steffi to present her screen and show them how BBS data is brought into Optimax for optimization. Now, if you don't have a BBS data in an Excel format, and then it will be difficult for Optimax to work with it. That is why we are interlinking Ads Pro with Optimax at this particular time. Okay, you can continue, Steffi.
Okay, thank you. So as you all know, Optimax is done after BBS. You have all come across the class of Beam, BBS, Lab and everything. So once the output we get from BBS is what we put as input for Optimax. And from the BBS, as Rintu have mentioned, we get the total steel quantity and how it should be cut in Optimax. So as to reduce wastage, we'll be getting from this Optimax software. So there are mainly 4 steps to do in Optimax. First is to create the client. So the client can be here that we are giving name as demo. You can add any address and you have to save it. So once it is saved, it will be shown in the table column. And now you have to close it. Now we have to go for add stock. Add stock, like as Rintu have mentioned, we have a BBS data from a previous project, and in this BBS data we have many size dia bar 8, 16 and 10. So this is what we are going to put as an input for our Optimax. So unit is always given in numbers, grade is 500 FE, data brand is given as data. So first dia
Steffi,
IG.
there is a lag between the voice and the screen, so you'll have to slow down a bit.
Okay. Now which is visible to you?
Now we have the Excel sheet visible.
Okay. So
Okay, we
when
are
the
back
Optimax,
on the
yeah,
Optimax screen.
okay. Now we are given diameter of 8 and length as 12 meter. So quantity. Quantity is not specifically 500. You can give on depending upon what how much you need. So whatever value we give in quantity, the same come as numbers also. So we have to save this. Then we have to close it. Now we go for open BBS data. In this, we have to import. So you get a message. Do you want to import BBS data from ASPRO?
Sefi, you'll have to pause again. Okay, continue.
So it's we are giving no. So we have to select the client which we have already mentioned it first as demo 4. So we have to input the BBS file which we have got, and in that there is 8, 16 and 10 dia. Now we have to save it. Then again close it. Now there is execute. So job ID will be coming automatically. We don't have to do anything. So client name, here we have demo 4, which we have already created in before. So the dia shown here is 8, 10 and 16, which is the same dia that is seen in the BBS data, which we already received. So we have to choose 8 mm. Like we are, if you are going to take the first, we have to take 8 mm, then 10 mm, then 16 mm. So how much ever different kinds of dia you have in your BBS data, all that will be directly inputted to the Optimax software. So FE 500. So in this margin, I am giving us 12,000. Now this is our last. You have to just execute it. From this, it is clear that if we have a bar length of 12 meters and it should be cut a different length so as to reduce the wastage. So the wastage percentage we have 0 in this case.
Sefi, can you pause for a second?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, now as we discussed earlier, we said we'll be cutting a 3 meter, 5 meter, and 9 meter. Like similarly, one, length 4, length 5 in the top row indicates the number of bars or the length of each bar that can be cut from a full 12-meter bar. And towards the right side of the table, just go to the right side of the table. And towards the right side of the table, you can see the total length calculated. And you can see the wastage amount. Like wastage is 0 here because the planning is accurate. Like we all 1.2 meters, you can use a 10 length of 1.2 meters to form a full length bar. So wastage in that case is 0. Similarly, you will get combinations which get minimal wastage. Okay, so if you have more than one BBS to be executed, like you have a slab, column, and beam BBS to be executed, you can decide how much of the cutting has to be done or how much not to be cut. And based on the wastage, you can decide whether to stop cutting over here and add the data from. If you're starting with slab, you will have 8 mm bar or 10 mm bars to be cut first. So the balance bar you can utilize for cutting the next set when you're doing the BBS for beams. So we can add and combine all these data. We have options for that in the software. Okay, so if you can proceed.
Okay, once if it is done, we have to save it.
Saving is done in Excel format. Even your BBS data is in
Yeah,
Excel.
we get it in the Excel format. So after that, we have to close it. We have to go for result data. In this, we have our client. We have to click here. So we'll get a detailed result, the same that we have got before itself. So there is like if there is wastage happening, that it will be shown in the bars to cut portion. In this case, we don't have any wastage.
Okay. So you can see here the system has automatically made a combination wherein all the bars are arranged so that you get zero wastage and maximum utilization of each full length of bar. So the and this entire process nearly took only 5 or 6 minutes and with the explanations. So if in case you are doing it on your own, you won't take even 5 minutes if you are quick enough. Okay, and the only tools in the software is like you have to input, you have to name and name a client. The data, BBS data is often linked to a client because it is actually linked to a project or a client in ERP. So for better identifying, we are using a client to refer to the BBS data instead of a project name. So a client can be a project also. It's up to you to create the name. Then we go for the stock part. So in order to cut some bars, you need a stock. And the stock here, Steffi used a representative value of 100 numbers, but in actual, you will be referring to the stock purchased in your site. If at site you have purchased uh, 50 numbers of 8 dia bar, 20 numbers of 10 dia bars, and 100 numbers of 16 dia bars, that will be your actual input to the stock part. So even that stock data can be extracted from ERP. ERP is actually having an option wherein you can enter the purchase details, and the same purchase details or stock can be utilized in Optimax for the bar cutting. So once after cutting, the wastage and remaining bars can be updated back in ERP. So you don't have to store a manual data regarding how much of bar is being cut, how much is available, what is the wastage. All this data can be easily monitored in the ERP. That is how you can link it with the ERP. Other than linking it with ERP, you can also do it directly. That is the method which was been shown today in the session. And you can see that you will be importing a BBS data in Excel form into the software, and you'll just have to run execute it, and the software creates combinations, and the combinations will be tabulated, and the data will be given to you. So, Steffi, can you just open that Excel file which has been generated?
This is the first Excel file.
We should wait a minute. File has not been in the screen. Okay, now here A, B, C, D, F, all these columns indicate the length of each bar to be cut from the full length, and the P column number P is nothing other than the full length, sum of each length, individual length. Q is the wastage length, and R is the total length. So that is P plus Q is R. That is the equation over there. Now, Steffi, can you just execute the 16 dia bars? So we'll have a change. Now, usually the 8
So
bars are used for syrups. So we'll have multiple numbers of shorter length, 1.2 meter, 80 centimeter. All these values come from usually is seen for stirrups. We'll have a different varying length and varying values usually when we go for the main bars, like the main bars 16 mm, 12 mm, 20 mm, 25 mm bars. They have different values of length. It won't be a round figure usually. It will be based on the length of the beam. Uh, okay. Now we'll
it,
just see
we have
what
to
will be the
say,
case when we are running for 16 mm dia bar.
okay, last, like when we get this output details, we have to save this also as a BBS file.
And to the side, along with our BBS data, we'll be giving this Excel sheet, which is converted to PDF, so that at site they will have an idea which is the length to be cut, which is the bar to be cut, and based on, and in the screen you can see there is a numbering 201. Okay, we'll just see in the next one. Now the same process is being repeated for the 16 dia bar. We can use the say okay, just check if there is stock because we have already added the stock earlier. Just check if there is stock of 16 dia bar. Import PBS data. Then you will have to import from for importing you will have to select, either you can import from ERP or use a client. Then you will be able to select the data using the browse option usually you get for opening a file. It comes automatically, you don't have to open anything. I think the screen is lagged a bit.
Is it visible, the 16 dia bar?
Yes, now it's visible. Okay. Now data has been loaded back to the system. Save, close, then go for execution. Now your job ID is 2, client is demo, and diameter 16, grade of steel has been selected, manufacturer, margin. So margin is the minimum cut length you're expecting to be cut from the given series. Then you can go for execution. Okay. Now you can see on the left side you have a set where there is bars to be cut. That is, those bars weren't cut because they have a wastage greater than the margin mentioned earlier. We mentioned a margin of 2000, but the wastage after cutting 9.75, 9.6 was more than the margin specified. That is why the cutting of such those bars were paused. Even if we had stock more than required, the cutting of those bars were paused because the margin was not met. If you're giving full length margin, then all these bars would have been cut. Now here we can see earlier we had nearly 14 lengths. Now we have nearly nearly 3 length of bar that can be cut from a total length. Now that is the difference. Usually for stirrups the length of bar remains the same, but number of bars will be like 500, 600 or 200. So such huge amount of bars to be cut from the same length. So it is not that difficult to find a combination from the same. But look in here, you have different length for the same 16 bar. You have 2000, 2100, 5950. All these different values are coming up. So manually, if you sit and find a combination, will be time tedious and and never ending process like. Okay, so here you can see wastage is varying. It's not zero anymore. We have different wastage values. 50 is there, 100 is there. So if we can just come down to the end of the table. So the value is changing, like it is 950, 950 mm. The whole values displayed over here is in mm. Don't confuse yourself. The unit used is mm. And at the bottom of the screen, you can see total length used. The wastage is 3750. Wastage percentage and reusable length. We have nearly 11,000 meters, 11 meters reusable length available. All these data will be given at the bottom right corner of the screen. Okay. And here you can see the wastage values is differing based on the combination selected. The main aim was to get a combination with margin less than 2000. If the wastage value is greater than 2000, the system will stop cutting those bars and list down. And what we can do is that we can use this bar in a combination if we have another set of BBs to be cut. So suppose this was the beam data for ground floor. You can add you can use the column data in combination if the same 16 bar is being used for the column. Usually, we prefer the same die of bar as main bar for column and beam so that purchase time you don't have to go for different bar length. And whatever extra wastage or extra length is available in column can be reused in beam and vice versa. So here we can see that the extra cutting length available here we'll be planning to use in the column, beam, or in next floor also. Okay, so in that combination, you can cut the rest of the bar, or even you can plan of cutting in a different way. Okay, or even you can create your own manual combinations which you deem fit, or you can even go with assuming that wastage is okay. Wastage will be okay, all right. You can cut the whole length. Okay. Now this is about how we optimize data using Optimax. We'll print an Excel from this. Step, just export the data and open in Excel. You can save and go for results data. Save, save in Excel format. Steffi?
Yeah, hello.
Is okay, okay.
This is the second data which we get, and the first one was the VPS demo data. I mean, like the from the second data, it's we get the wastage percentage, the margin given, the bar length, and each mentioned. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
So these are the two main data which we get from Optimax, and
We can take a print of that series, how you are planning to cut, and you had to supply it along with your BPS data to the site so that they can, when they buy the bars, they can start cutting using the pattern given. And once the pattern cutting is done, then they can start bending based on the BPS data. That is a table showing the shape in which the bar has to be bent. So it will be a combination work actually to get the best results. So if you are planning to do ads row, I recommend you will have to do Optimax along with it. And for Optimax part, your assignment will be like you will have to do BBS and take that particular output, use it for optimization and get the Optimax results. And once you submit it along with your Optimax uh, assignment, then you will be evaluated the and you and it will be processed for your certificate part. Okay. And for Optimax software, this is the only session you are attending. So your attendance for this particular session will be counted. Okay. In case
the
any one of you is missing a session, you may report with with the explanation for the same, attend the recording and try doing the assignment. Okay. Now we have half an hour more. I guess I'll just explain the relationship of BBS with ERP or any other topic, and we'll continue with ERP part today for another 10 minutes. Okay. I'll be sharing my screen in a while. Steffi, is my screen visible?
yeah, it's visible.
Okay, now as in my earlier session, I was explaining the use of each tool. I have given a brief description regarding the same, what each tool was meant for. And now this is a dashboard page. We'll have this is a quick view of our projects in short and their progress. You can easily go and access any project you require uh, for demonstration. Okay, and you can track the same. And for today, you'll just see what are the main tools coming in. So as I said earlier, I'll repeat it again. We have two different parts for the ERP management. One is the masters part and the other is the entries part. And in the masters part, we do the making. And in the entries part, we do the entry or you enter a value or a resource or something as input into the ERP. Masters or making part, you are creating, you are adding new data or creating new options in the software. Like you are adding a project, you are adding a client. All these comes the new creation or making is happening in the masters part, and the entries part you will be giving values to it, like you'll be connecting the call, you will be inputting the invoice purchases, all those are done in the entries part. Usually entries are related to the site engineers or the engineers, project engineers who are working related to sites where they have data regarding the purchases management and all those data. And we have the reports part. So reports part will be connecting both masters and entries. And for masters part, okay. Now I have mentioned earlier that we'll be connecting BVS with ERP. And in masters part, we have an option called projects. And within projects, we have an option called bar bending schedules. Let this open up. And in this particular page, you can select your project, then select task and level. Okay. And then you can upload your data. You can go select a file and upload. Okay. Let's find the file. The file should be in XLS format. Let me try this one. Okay. Now the same previous data will be saved in ERP, and whenever you require, you can download from here, you can view in here, and this data is being extracted in the Optimax software for optimization. So combination can be created by just downloading the data from ERP. And for the same, you will have to have an access to the ERP software. You should have a password and ID. So as I mentioned earlier, you'll have a training page. Let me see if it's working. Okay. You'll have a password and username for the same. This will be your training page if you're intending to work on ERP. And for this, you will have to submit your request uh, in the same mail ID mentioned earlier. And once the request is received, you will get the password and ID for working in this training page. The page will be similar to my ERP page, and you can access almost all tools in it, and you can actually work out the project. So for ERP project, you'll have to create a project and then present it. That's how it will be working. Now for the main part, I'll just uh, go through each part over here. Like the masters part, we'll have a manage option wherein we have client details management. So you have to create a client. A client can be a vendor, a customer, or even both. Then you can add units. So ERP is just like a bare a software without like software. So it will not recognize what a unit is until you define a unit. So you'll have to define units for each item like your kg, meters, and all these units are inputted. So whenever you encounter a new unit that is different from the available ones, you can create a new one over here. Then we have the HR part. This is completely management of employees. The HR related all data can be managed over here. And as you have guessed, you will require a admin level access in order to uh, manage HR side. Then we have the CRM, and this is also admin level customization. Customer, like this is CRM side is usually used for a company or an enterprise that is handling something like a customer side, customer services or products. They're selling a product or something. Then the similar things can be managed in the CRM side. Then we have inventory. So ERP is not limited here. You can have a civil engineering based product being sold through ERP. You can manage the sales, and even the product details can be updated. All these data can be even handled through ERP. So there are certain civil engineering related construction companies which have their own products, like Ultratech. They have their own products. They have their construction activities. They even have real estate and other activities going on. Okay, so similar companies which intend to do more than just project management, they can use these tools in the ERP. Then we have the inventory part. So whatever input you are given is a resource actually. So the men working in your company, the men working at your site, all is accounted as a resource. The materials from cement, sand, aggregate to water, everything is resource. Then we have the machineries, bulldozers, JCBs, the plate compactors, NDTs. All these are their equipments which are used for construction purpose. So all these come under men, material, machinery. All these come under the resources. So whenever you want to create a new resource item or give it a category name, all this can be done using the inventory side. Then we have the project management option. As you can see, it is the largest option you have. It has n number of things to be done in it. Don't get confused. We just have to follow this order from top to bottom. You can add or edit a project. You can create a store for this. So why do we need a store location for a project? This is because a project site cannot exist without a store. If there is no actual store location, you will have to give a virtual store location for it. Without a store location, we cannot store the resources, we cannot execute the construction activities. And if someone intends to go visit the site, they don't have to come to you and ask where the site is located. They can actually go to the store location, get that a Google map reading, and use it for locating the site in actual. So that is the main purpose of this particular option. You can actually know where the site is even without contacting anyone regarding the same. It helps both the client as well as the people working that particular project. Then we have the this was for project type. So projects can be of different types. It can be construction type, management type, an online service regarding a product sales and all. It can be of any category. Categorizing it is for the project type. And for creating a project, you'll go for the add or edit option. Then we have levels. So a project as such is divided into subparts. So project will be divided to a level, and levels will be subdivided to task. That is the chronology. So first we have the project. Project will have levels. For example, if you take a residential building, a level can be foundation, first floor, ground floor, then miscellaneous activities, electrical works, plumbing works, all these can become a level. And for each level, we will have a sub activity, that is the sub task. And for a level, for example, foundation is a level. It will have tasks like construction of foundation elements like the footing, construction of pedestal, then construction of the plinth beam or plinth itself. Then we'll have construction of the earth filling. All these activities come under the level foundation. Similarly, each level have some activities associated. These activities will be named as task. and even the task can be subdivided into subtasks. Don't get confused about all these. You can easily manage. You can just go for this. All this data I'll be explaining in next class, but because this class we are running out of time. Okay, just understand a project will be divided into levels, and levels can be divided to tasks. I'll just give you an example of a site-based task and as well as a non-site-based task. We'll go for project levels. Okay, so uh, exposure itself, it has levels like coordination, teaching, teams meeting. So for in order to handle your exposure sessions, we have a project running, and it's called exposure. It has a project ID and it has 3 levels. So the levels is coordination. The coordination level has sub levels like office work, organization. These are called task. So task office work is done under coordination. Organizing class is done under coordination. Then we have the teaching part. We have the softwares over here. So each software is a task. Software training is a task that is to be executed under teaching. Even teams meeting. We even have a planning made for your even entire sessions. Okay. Let this load. So meanwhile we can see here. Here I'll go for a project. Uh, so pre-the residence is a project, and it has levels foundation, ground floor, first floor, miscellaneous, demolition, headroom. Don't mind the order of the level because here it will be shuffled up, but in Gantt chart or even the planning part, it is properly ordered. This is the order in which it was created, but the actual order is in the Gantt chart. Let me see if the other one has been loaded. Now here, this is a planning of your. Okay, this one doesn't have a planning over here. I'll show in the other side. Now here, if it's exposure, we have the planning over here, levels and the project planning. Now you have the introduction part was completed, so it's in red. Then the structural design part, which is also completed. Then we had the geotechnical training, which was also completed. Then the ERP training, which is currently it is supposed to be ongoing, and the project management side, part of which has been completed and hold. Okay. Now then we have the pre. I'll just go for a real project. That is how you manage an online project or a virtual project. Real site-based project. Okay, this is a site-based project. Now the pre-construction activities have been completed, so it's in red. Demolition work is ongoing. A part of it has been already completed, which is shown in red. And the ongoing part, you can see the Gantt chart over here. Okay. Each task and its dependency and duration is clearly visible from the chart, and you can see it from the table too. Okay, you have the start date, end date, duration, dependency. Then we can see the fourth hold task. These are future tasks which is currently under hold. You can see the people working in it. All this data can be viewed from the Gantt chart. So you are expected to create a project, create the planning, and present the same. So you'll be presenting something similar like this for your assignment. And now when we come back to projects, so that is the main thing done in project side. Though we have numerous options, the thing what we do is we create a project, create levels, then task, and then do the planning. Other options is like you have option for uploading a Optimax file, which is corresponding the estimate data. If you are uploading an Optimax file, the advantage is that the quantity mentioned in this task can be automatically updated using the Optimax data. Then we have a material in an option. All these are related to data, like resource management. Employees to project. You can add employees to project. These employee doesn't relate to the labor force inside. It is the office-based employees, like the project engineer, project manager, purchase engineer. All these employees working on that particular project is managed over here. Then main part of the project tool is that you have options to create them in general. You have options to create work in the project. So these options up to uh, add upload Xmax, all these are for creating a task, new task, creating a new project. When you come down, you're creating or adding the same in a project. So you'll have it's like a bank. You have a bank wherein different things are deposited, and you have to retrieve the same to your project. So you have to retrieve the resources, the levels, the tasks from the bank of data stored. So this is the data bank, and this is where your project is actually working. Don't worry, I'll be explaining all this in detail in the forthcoming schedule classes. Just we are going through the same, okay, in a synopsis. Then we have the subcontract tendering. So the tendering process is actually tedious and time consuming. You will have to create a tender document, float the tender, then invite tender their quotations, and you will have to manually sit and compare them, prepare reports regarding the same, then submit the same. It's actually a tedious process. So we are trying to simplify it by linking it to ERP. You can actually create the tender from the task. Here you can convert the task to the items which is to be tendered. Then you can create a subcontract tender. You can ask the clients to bid directly into ERP. So the clients don't have to fill in a Excel sheet. They'll get a link wherein they can fill the cost of each item. So it is based on item rate. They'll have to submit their quotation in item rate format. They'll fill the amount for each item, and then the system itself will compare the results and give you a graph or even a tabular representation of what is the comparison. From that we can decide which is the best option based on the experience, the bid amount, all these we can decide to which person you are granting that tender, and based on that you can even release a work order. And once the work is completed, you can even give them a certificate. Usually in bigger firms, when a work is granted, the first thing is that they'll make an estimate. They'll create a BOQ, that is bill of quantities, and the BOQ will be attached along with the tender. And the person participating in the tender will fill in the data. And once the data is filled and they'll submit, the data will be scrutinized by a team. They'll be checking the budget, the cost of items. They'll check the experience of the contractor who is participating in the tender, experience, their work certificates. The previous work certificates will be actually scrutinized. If they don't have a certificate to claim they had 3 years experience, then it won't be worth competing, because there are other contractors who will be able to furnish a certificate from their previous client. So each client will be giving a certificate. Usually the normal clients, I'm not mentioning about the normal clients, like in government projects and all, they'll have experience certificate given to all, or the work completion certificate given to the contractors who will be working with them. So that completion certificate you can create it using ERP. Okay, then we have the quality control part. Quality control part is nothing other than if a work is executed inside, you'll have a list of things to be cross-checked. Like, is the quantity, like, is the materials available at site? Is the quality of material already tested? Is the materials properly stacked or stored? Is the machines available? Machinery required for preparing the quantities available? is the machinery in good working condition? Do we have an alternative power supply in case of power failure? Do we have an alternate water source in case the water source or well available at site is drying up? Do we have tarpaulins or other materials to cover up if in case of a rain? All these are checks to be done during a work execution. So just like concreting has its own checklist, earthwork and all other works related to civil engineering will have a set of checks to be done. These checks can be formulated into a questionnaire, like the questionnaire you fill for the quiz. So there will be a questionnaire created, and once the site engineer answers the questionnaire, you can see a report will be created based on that, and the senior most person observing and managing the project will go through the checklist filled by the site engineer. And if the checklist doesn't match the quality required at site, then the senior person will instruct accordingly to ensure quality at site. So that is the process actually happening over there. Then we have accounts option for managing the project. Then we have asset management. Asset is like an equipment or machinery that is owned by the company, which can be reused for multiple projects. So as you know, an asset requires maintenance, it requires value adjustment, even depreciation is also to be calculated. Okay, all these things can be done directly through ERP. Not you don't have to actually work it out manually. Then we have a document management system. So document management system is like your Google Drive. So for each task, you can upload a document and keep it so that until the project is deleted from ERP, the data will be there safe. So you don't have to keep the data in your personal system and fear if a virus attack happens, the entire data will be removed. Or you will have to find Google Drives or other external sources to store data. That is not required when you can store them in ERP and use it for later reference later. Okay, this can be done for each and every task. So there is no limit for the amount of data that can be stored in the ERP. Then we have rating, push notify, and user settings. These are internal things that is usually uh, for ourselves. Like it is, you can even add for other things. Like you want any new option that can be added in here. So we have a rating option, you have user settings and all these things added here. Then to the entries part. So earlier we saw creations of thing, then we have to enter data for the same. So earlier we created a quality control form, then we'll have to enter the data for quality control. So the site engineer will actually be entering data into the QC form over here, whereas the project manager would have created the quality control form in the master space. So that is the difference. One will be doing entry in this, one will be creating in the master side. And here we have options for punching, workflow, labor workflow, resource workflow, work progress. So progress is actually a unique idea wherein you don't have to actually go to the site to see what is the progress of work happening there. So if the project manager is someone from Dubai and the project is happening in Kerala, it is not possible for him to visit daily and see the progress of the project. So in that case, actually what he can do is he can use an ID, you and you use a plugin in Revit, and using it, he can actually see how much of work is completed in a 3D format. So I suppose the demonstration of the same has been already completed earlier. We'll have a demo if required in the future also. So it is like you don't have to actually be present in the site. It's like putting a webcam in your site, but the other version, software version of a webcam activity. Okay. Then we can manage leaves, work from home requests. If your project is a virtual one, you can go for a work from home option. Then site visit details, all this can be managed over here. We can create quotations, pro forma invoices and BOQs. Then we have the quality forms, cube test results. These are the forms for filling after test results. So pile report is a report which you fill after casting a pile inside. Then we have the HR side, then accounts. Okay, for your information, I'll be covering the project management sides only. The accounts and HR side will be covered if you request for the same. That is will be done by someone from the account side. Uh, if a majority of number request for the same. Then we have the inventory management. This is completely based on the site related data. You can make a requirement list, resource consumption data, purchase order, GRN entry, purchase entry, stock transfer, physical stock, purchase return. All these management is done in inventory side. Then we have some other options like minutes of the meeting, skill details, or other and all. Okay. So this is in general what you will be learning during your ERP training. Our main focus will be to cover the parts which is related to project management. We have other options like the accounts, HR, admin, and all, which will not be demonstrated for you until and unless there is a good amount of people interested for the same. Okay. And if you're interested for the same, you can send a request in WhatsApp or via mail. Okay, with this, we'll be winding up today's session. So today we'll have a quick run through of what we have learned today. We have look into the software Optimax. Uh, what is what is its main function, its purpose, and its advantages. We have seen how to take data from a BBS data and convert it to a combination so that you can minimize the wastage, and this can be done in a fraction of time taken in a much lesser amount of time than actually doing it in a manual method. Then we went through the ERP side, wherein we just brushed through all the tools available in ERP. Okay, so from next session onwards, we'll be going in depth to each project details, how to create a project, how task will be created, how levels to be created, how can you add data to a task or a level. All these things will be done in the next session. So from next session, if you're planning to learn ERP seriously, you'll have to attend from the next session onwards. Okay, so thank you all. I'll give a few minutes for you so that you can ask some queries if you have any. Okay, the session is open to you. You can ask your doubts. Uh, okay, if you're shy to respond now, you may ask the same in through messages or mails.